You want to fight crime? Let's get dangerous.
And yes, it is showtime once again. And welcome to another episode of From the Desk of a Small Press Publisher. I'm your host, Joe D. McPhee here. And we got a lot to talk about. We got some things to talk about here because some of you out there that is in my audience have sent me videos and everything to watch here. I'm going to talk about a couple of those things that was brought up over the week here. And we're going to talk about writing for comics, pretty much. And we're going to talk about a lot of the, if I could say, misnomers about writing for comics and actually doing comic book writing. And some of the reasons why I constantly say that, you know, a lot of the bigger companies needs to go back to having hardcore editors, not just proofreaders, hardcore editors to make these books that we buy on a weekly to monthly basis better. But we'll get to that a little bit later because we got to deal with the business end of things here. And that is 1 hour into the show. If we go into our second hour here, one hour into the show, we got Stupid O'Clock here. And then it's followed up by Last Man Standing, which then you get a little bit of respite for Monday for Nevermind the Furthermore with Nicholas Tucker at 10 a.m. And don't forget about the brand new Comic Book Spectrum. And we call it brand new because we've been going through a lot of changes here. And we're going to get, if everything works out, we're probably going to have newer faces, newer things to talk about. But we're still going to be the same old show here on Thursday, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern. And for those who are ready, we got a little bit of stack of books here, probably no more than 25 to cover because why? It is that time once again for new comic book pickups for the week, which is this time live. Yes, live. Reason why we've been doing a lot more live comic book pickups for the week is because I haven't been going to storage and I haven't been have to do with inventory and stuff to that magnitude because it's too cold outside. When you're dealing with below zero temperatures in a non-climate controlled storage unit, it is not the best criteria to stay there for more than what you have to. It's like, you know, maybe 30 minutes to an hour tops. It gets too cold. It gets too cold too quickly. So, but we got a little bit of books here that we're going to show for new comic book pickups for the week here. And give me 1 second here because I think we got things going here. No, yep, nothing to really worry about there. But to start off new comic book pickups for the week, I end up getting Body Bags 1 and 2. This is technically, I believe this is volume 2 because the original series was from Dark Horse. I'm still looking for that one, but this is, I believe, is the first set of Body Bags, the series from Image. So this is issue 1 and 2. It only went 2 issues in Image here. And I think they did a third series, which had a subtitle to it. But I finally got the Delgados here. Yes, the Delgados, you know, Clown Face and Panda, the Delgados, and Body Bags. I've still got to get the original series from Dark Horse, but If you got a lead to that, that's perfectly fine, and I'm happy. If you can, let me know, because I still was looking for those type of books here. Then we got Battle Chasers #1. This is, unfortunately, this is the second print of Battle Chasers #1 after doing my research here. So second print, Battle Chasers 1. Very nice to have here. Another #1 to have. This one, I'm kind of like of a mixed opinion here. This is Wonder Woman #11 from the run that I don't like, but this is a signed Tony Daniels copy here. So I want to show it. So it's right there. There's Tony Daniels signing it here. So it's a signed Tony Daniels copy. It finally came in the mail here. So that might be sent off to get a yellow label later on down the line here. Is not something of utmost importance as far as preservation is concerned here. I got time to do that itself here. We got Razor 23 that came in today. So Razor 23 came in today. Another copy of Wonder Woman 1,000,000. This one probably going to be the reader copy because the spine is not all that great on it here. And we got a copy of Spirit 61. Trying to get the glare out of it. Something that I actually am happy about it, I actually put it in a Mylar to preserve it here. I finally got a copy of Spider-Woman #60. So it's like one of the few Spider-Woman Spider-Mans. So Spider-Woman #20. And we got, I think this is the final issue of Catwoman Wildcat, which is issue 3 of Catwoman Wildcat. If not, it's either 3-issue series or a 4-issue series. I can't remember. So we got that going on here. And a disappointing, but I'm happy to have it here. This is a reader copy of Dazzler #2. The reason I'm disappointed because after further inspection on it, we have damage at the corner. The spine is a little bit split. It is very dirty. And I'm up there like, well, at first I was like, okay, the dirt I'm not going to worry about. I could clean it up. And then I saw the spine split and everything. Fortunately for me, I do have another copy of that. So we're still dealing, we still got one to preserve for prosperity down the line here. Sweet Fantasy Baby. Ooh, Razor. Okay. No, if you guys were wondering what I was reading the comments here. So that's what's going on here. Now, this one, I'm not certain if I already have it here. I'm probably going to put it in a better bag and clean it up a bit. But this is Uncanny X-Men -1. I believe that there were 3 covers of this here. So there's 3 different covers for that here. Oh, I don't mind dirty bookie. Okay. It's dirt. It's not the dirty. It's not the problem. It's the spine split and everything. That's the real problem, more so than anything else. This one is pretty okay. Like I said, when it comes down to preservation, you have to put it into categories where it fits a little bit better across the board here. I did not realize that the first volume of this was perfect bound. Okay. This is from the first volume of the official Marvel index to the X-Men. So this is issue #4 from volume 1. So I didn't realize that they were perfect bound, just to show you that it is perfect bound there. I thought it was like a regular issue because volume 2 were like regular issues. But I think volume 1 are all perfect bound. So this was issue #4. Oh, split equals ripped. Yeah. Yep. We got another copy of Doom Patrol #20. Again, can't complain for $2 grab, but I wish it was in better condition. But there it is, a Jughead 69 for $2. And the reason why I say I wish it was in better condition here, because I got it and I was like, oh, this is going to be great and everything. I'm going to change the bags and everything to get it better. Then I'm like, here he goes. it's not just the fact that the spine is split. It's the chunk is not that big of a deal because why? Why the chunk is not that big of a deal? Because the chunk is actually right there. That's where the chunk of the back cover is at. So everything is there. It's just not going to complain about a $2 book here, but when it comes to preservation and everything, you try to get it as close to manageable where you could clean it up, put it in a good, get it in a better bag and everything. But some books you just can't salvage, or you just make it a placeholder. Mommy wants the one for the binder for 3 holes. Which one? Mommy says archival tape. Yeah, I mean, I could do archival tape, but still, archival tape would still be purple label in the long run, but that's getting to a whole nother can of worms here. But I'm trying to figure out what book to talk about 3-hole binder. Hi, Joe. The Marvel Index. They have the wider edition. Oh yeah, yeah. That's a whole different volume of that. I know which one you're talking about now, because they kind of did the same treatment for the handbook of the Marvel Universe as well. They did a three ring binder version of that too. Well, they don't. I don't think they do gray labels anymore. That's old school. Old school. I don't think they do gray. It would be. I think they treat archival tape as restoration now, so it would be purple. Yeah, update 90s. The Marvel Universe update 90s. The 3-hole punch one. Yep. I got another copy of The Thing issue number 12. And the last book of the evening is Doomsday and Wonder Woman with our old friend John Byrne, which is issue 111 here. This one, I'm torn if this is going to go to Whatnot or not. I only believe I only have one other copy of this here, so it might go into the collection and reside there. I don't think I have multiples of that one. And wait, hold on. Mahad, it was after they changed the right. That's what I'm thinking. Because like I said, it's like it hasn't been a gray label in a long time. But then again, the newer slabs that CGC been using, I don't think they still do the gray. But you know what? Let's check it out. You know how I am. I'm not afraid. Labels. And here we go. So we got the Universal, which is blue. Yellow is signature. Then you have the this is the new authenticated, which is black and yellow. You have the pedigree, which is gold. The green is just qualified. The green is qualified. Purple is restored. NG is no grade. Individual pages PG. Cover. Okay, conserved. So it's a gray and blue. So it's like this book. It's like this book. This label is applied to any comic book that has specific repairs done to improve the structural integrity and long-term preservation. These repairs are included: tear seal support, staple replacement, piece reattachment, and certain types of cleaning. view. Okay, so we got to view. We'll view that scale here. So this is what replaced the old gray. So there is a constant conserved labeled here. So this is what we was discussing here a few moments ago. And then we got qualified signature, and now qualified and restored signature and conserved signature. So they have added newer labels now. And I don't think people are going to pay attention to that gray stripe that's there too much. Because it used to be an all gray label, not just the gray stripe. Yep, there it is. Wasn't arguing with you here. I just I don't remember that. I don't remember that. I don't remember seeing the fully gray labels anymore. But they got the gray blue now. Yep. So if you put some archival tape on the spine of that jughead, so it won't split anymore. Yeah. I had to use the archival tape to not only deal with the split, I also have to patch the one part of the back cover too. So it's going to take more than that. It's going to take more. It's like I just have to figure out how to go about it. So yep, yay, yep. I mean, I rather have, to be quite honest, this looks a lot better than having something like that. And that's the whole thing. It's like, what will be the determining factor between a restored and conserved? Gray is better than purple. I know that gray is better than purple by a long shot. Gray is better than purple. But the thing about it is that if you do the repairs and stuff yourself, how do they know that? Well, I believe that they could tell what archival tape is being used and stuff to that magnitude, but how do they really distinguish between restored and archival or conserved? It's just weird. It's just weird in that aspect here. It's like send to me. I dropped it's like I dropped alcohol spills on my book, and they should not get a purple. See, to me, if it's like if alcohol spills on a book, they should not get a purple label for color touch. See, that's the thing. That's going to be the thing here, because because technically alcohol spills would be almost like having water damage, which would mean that technically it will be universal with a very low grade. But if the color fades and they can't tell what caused the fading, why would it instantly go to restored? Because it really wasn't restored. It still was damaged. If anything, it should be qualified. It should go to green. But I don't know. Like I said, it's just weird. Which makes the argument for qualified. It should have been a qualified. It should be a qualified label on that. But who knows? Who knows? See, that's where I would that's where I would argue, because even now, I have a few that was in qualified, and the reason it's qualified is because they got signed without witness. If I was to resubmit them in, technically I could get the, where is it? Technically I could get this here if I resubmit them. But if you drop alcohol on it, to me, that falls up in a qualified. But I don't know why CGC does what they do, because it can't be color. Dropping alcohol does not, like you said, does not make it color touch. Actually, it's technically almost damaging the book. It would be like water damage. It would be like significant, like I said, has significant, it would be qualified and not anything else. Exactly. Exactly. But okay. I mean, I don't know all the scientific aspects of their ins and outs between the difference between green, purple, and the gray. Gray used to be easier because there's just certain things that just makes it obvious that you did it for archival purposes, that you're not restoring, but you have the proper utensils or the proper measures to conserve the book. However, the defining difference between green and purple is where I get more and more confused here, because to me, damage should always be green, and any type of professional repair. And when I say professional repair, we're talking about the cover was replaced or something to that or something of that magnitude. That should always be purple. In your case with the Fantastic Four 5, that should have been green. I'm sorry, by definition, it should have been green. But they're up here, I'm looking at their description. It's like it's used for having a significant defect that needs specific description. For example, a comic book missing a coupon that would otherwise, that like a comic missing a coupon that would otherwise grade a 6 would be a qualified grade, avoiding considerable lower grades here. CGC will also give qualified grades on label text denoting that coupon missing from there does not affect story. Yeah, but those are, it's weird. Yeah, I'm fine with the gray, but it should have been blue with a lower grade. Yeah, yeah, because again, it's just weird. It's just weird how they do that. Yeah, somebody could get on a be in a bad mood, and there goes your grade. Yep, Aaron, it's one of those moments here. Exactly. Well, any type of restoration, any type of true restoration should be purple label. If you reattach a cover, it should be purple. If you find a way to make a pure facsimile of a cover and attach it, that's always going to be purple. Any type of restoration in that aspect here. Was the alcohol really used in the cleaning aspect of it? Because if that's the case, then yeah, it should have been gray. Yeah, it should have been. Then it could have been gray too. The book is, yep, dynamite, legit. Oh my. No, not cheating. I wouldn't say cheating. We're discussing pretty much what I got to do with this book right here. I ended up getting a Jughead issue number 69, and I was showing that it has not only that it had a chunk it's missing out of the front cover, it has a chunk, it has a chunk missing there, and a couple of things that if I cleaned it up, but the spine is split here. The spine is split. We got that missing chunk there, which I have right here. So we got the missing chunk of the back cover right here. And I was saying that it's like, as much as I don't want to try to track down a more expensive one, that even for this being a reader for right now, I don't want to like reattach the back part and all this other stuff and kind of be forced to get this to restore this one or to clean up this one for archival purposes. Oh yes, I do. I've been trying to. My introduction to Archie recently really started back to rekindling a love for Jughead and Josie. And everybody was up here was like, well, we got all these Archies. I was like, well, do you have Jughead or do you have Josie? Because those were like the two main books that I actually like. I didn't care too much for Archie as a main comic or Reggie or Pep and all the other stuff, even though I do have books from those eras, but the majority of my bulk of Archie comics that are always been Jughead and Josie and the Pussycats. So those are the two things here. No, this wasn't a one. No, this was from a different source. Yeah, it's definitely a reader beater, but it's also old enough. You have to think about it. It is old enough for thinking about preserving it, because it is issue number 69. This is like old school, like night. Again, I got to open up the bag again to see the year. I want to say this is like a 1950s. No, 61. 1961. I was thinking it was like 59, but no, this is 1961. So for a 1961 book, this would be like one of those ones that's like, what, even for a reader beater, we'll clean it up and make certain that it gets the proper, we'll properly take care of it. And if need be, get it encapsulated after it get read and everything. Yes, Josie and the Pussycats. And people keep forgetting that the original book was just called Josie. It didn't become Josie and the Pussycats until I want to say issue either 34 or 64. Give me 1 second here. Because I have the book, I think I have the issues where it changed between Josie and the Pussycats here. Now, ironically enough, the band that they formed was actually together before the name changed from Josie to Josie and the Pussycats. Yep. The last issue of Josie was issue 44. That was the last issue. So issue 44. Trying to see if it will come. Yep, there we go. Actually, let me do it this way. We're going to do some history before we even get into talking about writing here. Okay, there we go. So bringing it back on screen for you guys here. So issue 44, which we have here, is the last issue of that series titled as Josie. When we get to issue 45, and it did it to me again here. Stupid. There we go. We get to issue 45, and I highlighted it there for people can see it. At issue 45, it finally changed over to Josie and the Pussycats. I have both of those issues here. So yeah, those are really getting into like the nitty gritty, and the person who wants $195 for that, wow, it's like, and you saying it's a good, nope, they're overcharging because it's a pool bikini issue, but that's not why you buy those books. Nobody's up here getting their jollies off of Josie and the Pussycats from that. No, sorry. Sometimes I get those early Archie books. Yeah, I got early Archies. I got a lot of Jughead Digest now and everything to that magnitude as well. Yeah, I just remembered that jingle when I was in the kid. Yep. Yeah. I got the Josie and the Pussycats cartoon 2 disc sets to watch with Beanie. Yeah. So, did you get both series? You got the original Josie and the Pussycats and Josie in Outer Space. That was the second season, if I remember correctly. There was a Josie in Outer Space second season or series, which is supposed to be like the second season here. It's a bootleg one to one original. This cool. I read Carbona instead of cartoons. So think of Josie and the Ramones did a split. That could be interesting. That could be interesting. My eyes are going crazy. Uh-oh. Yeah, Jolly's. Yeah, because again, it's like you'd be surprised that with Archie comics, people want to charge a major premium for any issues dealing with Betty Veronica in a bikini. One of the most expensive books in the Archie franchise is this, only because of the double entendre that happened in it. And I think I remember which one it is. Which one? I could have sworn it was that one. See. Was it? I can't remember. I can't remember which Archie title it was. If it was Archie or was it? Or was it Life with Archie? Okay, it was Betty and Me. It was a Betty and Me cover here. The one of the most expensive covers for Archie. Swear it. And here it is. Surprisingly enough, it's Betty and This is just the facsimile. The facsimile is going for 60. I need to find the original. Let me find a listing for the original. Well, that's at 2.5. That's the original. And the reason why it's so costly is not because it's just only the bikini aspect, it's what was said in the cover. Archie, did you have any excuse me, did you have any trouble rescuing me? And then he says, I sure did, Betty. I had to beat off 3 other guys. And because of the nature of the bikini and the innuendo and everything, people went cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs in whatever demented way, which is something that is completely innocent, where people up here are like, oh yeah, I got my jollies off of that. It's like, stop doing that. Yep. Listen, Joe, I have Jill. It's like I have Jill to Josie numerous times. Yep. You have well, that's a self-admission. Yep. I'm not going to say nothing. Wait, was that out loud? Yep, you did say that out loud. Do you need it? This one, yes. I do need the Betty and Me number 16, but I don't need it like that. That would be something for later if I ever get further along in my comic book publishing and have extra money. That would be like one of the books I would actually get here. Oh no, you're talking about the cartoon series. Yes, I do need that cartoon series. I was thinking about the book. I was thinking about the books first because we was talking about the books and everything. But to answer your question here, Aaron, that's one of the more expensive ones now. Anything that has, like I said, anything that has a bikini cover, people are going goo goo gaga over because people think Archie comics are a lot more wholesome, especially back in the day. But there was a lot of safe innuendo back then. Yeah, it's like the Joker boner book from the Silver Age. Yep. I say put Josie in everything. Josie and the Jets. Josie and the Jets. Innuendo. Yeah, innuendo. It's how much you say suppository in Italian. Where do you put your suppository? In your window? Only parallax. But that was what we was getting into the whole. We were getting into the whole CGC thing. We're getting into the whole CGC thing because we're talking about preserving that Jughead book and what if later on down the line after it gets preserved, what would happen? And she's like, well, you still got Gray. I was like, I was telling her I haven't seen a Gray label in a couple of years. I'm not saying that they didn't exist. It's like, I just haven't seen one. And I was like, are you sure that I won't get a purple label? Because you never know how they look at these things here. So that's the things. Yep. You coming up with things out of the blue. Actually, part of the reason what we're doing this show was based upon a video that you showed me here because we started talking about comic book writing. If you remember the video that you sent to me earlier this week. And like I said, I don't like a lot of the terms that are being thrown out in these videos, but we're going to talk about this one because I know we got, if I could say, angry people out there, which have some very good points, but their message gets drowned out because, oh, we're angry and we don't like this and we shouldn't have to deal with this and blah, 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 blah. It's like, it's the writing. They need better writing. No. And I know Parallax and I have talked about it. AA Ron would like this discussion because Parallax and I have talked about it here, and it's not the fact that it's a need for something. It's more along the lines of a day and age where it's a lack of something. We know that there is a lack of pure editors in comics now. And because there's a lack of editors, and let me clarify this, we're not talking about editors as far as somebody that's there to proof the books. We're talking about editors as in true editors in a comic book format where they manage the whole entire team, the story output, and everything to that magnitude. There are like the last voice of reason to get your story across without having a lot of people upset or feeling alienated or making it seem like your story fits in some type of continuity from issue to issue, regardless of creative team. We don't have that anymore. And that is the key thing that I've come back. But I'm going to take the videos that Parallax has sent to me, and I'm going to stick with the terms that they use. Y'all want to complain about writing? Let's talk about writing. Because sometimes I believe a lot of these people don't know what they're talking about, but you got very good points. However, because some of these people who are complaining about the writing are not writers themselves, they don't understand the nuance and why the lack of editors is hurting modern comics. But let me get to this. Let me get back here. It's like anger. It's like if you only knew the power of the dark side more. Lack of editors. Yep. Continuity. Like the Falcon or Shooter. Yep. Manage continuity too. This is why I buy older comics now. Never been happier. It's okay that others like newer books from the big two. And that's the thing. The newer books are being made for generations that are younger than us. They have a different need than us. But even with that being stated, those books are not truly being edited for them. It is being marketed for them, not truly edited and refined and being made in such a way for them to be loved by the younger generation. And that's where the problem lies at. And it's quick to throw writers up under the bus for this. But when you have marketing staff that says, shoot the works, we don't care, and you don't have an editor in chief or a good editor to say, no, marketing, we have to reel back on some of this stuff because it's going to hurt our continuity. It's going to hurt the overall story. It's going to hurt gaining an overall audience for this. Then you got problems. But I also want to address some of the other issues that came out too. It's like if Joe was editing Wonder Woman, Tom King would do good he would be like, Diana can't do that. I'll be like, why are you doing Batman stuff in Wonder Woman? She ain't Batman. If you want to write a Batman story, write a Batman story. If you're going to do Wonder Woman, write a Wonder Woman story. That's like, you can't just do pop culturist type things here. You cannot Bible thump in a Wonder Woman book. If you try to Bible thump in a Wonder Woman book, Diana's reaction is going to be so atypical that most people are not going to understand this. You're trying to go the most misogynistic route possible to build your story. It won't work in a Wonder Woman book. But Tom King says that he knows what he's doing. But yet, we got a great second volume of Amazon's Attack. We got great stories coming out of Birds of Prey. I mean, we got two good stories dealing with the Themyscirians in Birds of Prey. So we're getting good things out of it, but what he's doing in the actual Wonder Woman book does not hold very well. Do I appreciate the newer fans that are coming and buying Wonder Woman? Yes. Surprisingly enough, we got a lot more men buying Wonder Woman now. But here's the problem. Once Tom King leaves, or the Tom King fans, the Tom King fans leave once he stops writing Wonder Woman, are they going to stay for the long haul? And my answer to that question is no, because what he wrote is not sustainable for the continuity of Diana. What I feel is going to be more of a mainstay now, which I'm beginning to like even more than what's going out there right now modern, is what they're doing with Absolute Wonder Woman. That to me has replaced, the old school volume 6 for me. The stuff that they're doing in Absolute Wonder Woman is like really scratching my Wonder Woman itch, and I'm happy. But it is what it is. Good point. It's like even modern continuity isn't that strong due to marketing. Yep. No, you're not overly that late here. You want to write Batman? Yeah, then trade jobs for Zdarsky. And again, people love Zdarsky on Batman. It is what it is. But it just, again, I just don't know what more to say. That would even make more sense in a Wonder Woman book than what he did in issue number 8. And I don't want to relive issue number 8, because a lot of the characteristics that happen in issue number 8 would never happen up under any other writer of Wonder Woman, because it got overly misogynistic. It got overly male centric. And I'm like, what am I reading this? It's like you're giving me all these different pages about her being in her own head due to the lasso of lies. And eventually she broke out of the grip of what the lasso was doing to her. But all of this stuff about her taking everything that Steve Trevor was saying as in the stereotypical 1950s housewife, Diana would be like, screw this, you're on your own. I thought you was a different person, and would have jet. She would have jet. That's just how she would have been. It is what it is. It's like, quietly, I'm on a soapbox. No, I'm not on a soapbox just yet. Trinity sucks as does Jonathan Kent gay Superman. That's a whole nother thing. I will get on a soapbox about that here in a moment, because I'm of a different mindset about Jonathan Kent. But we'll talk about that in a second here, because I want to cover what we were covering here a few moments ago. Goes and sits in the corner. Foy like dug it up. Yep. Yeah, it's like they don't sell have dropped on Batman. Well, yeah, but again, Batman, they treat Batman like their bread and butter. It's like they got like, if you include things like, sadly enough, you include things like Catwoman, Harley Quinn, Punchline, the newer Joker titles. Batman has so many different books out there, it's beyond nauseating. It's their bread and butter. Do they need that many books? Hell no. This is where Shooter was right. If you want Harley Quinn, buy a Batman book. If you want Mr. Freeze, buy a Batman book. If you want to see Joker, buy a Batman book. You don't really need to have these characters in their own separate books the way that they've been doing it here. But it is what it is here. Modern comics seem to have excellent starts like Absolute, but I'm rarely impressed with how the story finishes. That's because the way that creative teams rotate in and out now, the original team never get an opportunity to finish an actual good story arc. Or if they do get a chance to finish a story arc, it's so rushed that it doesn't really hit its mark the way that it is. Well, Absolute Wonder Woman, let me say it this way. Absolute Wonder Woman, not too bad. I like that. Absolute Superman, I consider it man. It has its moments, and then it's like Absolute Batman. Spider Bat does whatever a Spider Bat does. Throws a battery any size. That's pretty much what it is. It's Spider Bat. It's like you're getting a Peter Parker version of Batman. And people who don't know what I mean by a Peter Parker version of Batman, it's like, okay, you got a broke Batman who is developing all his gadgets and everything for his utility belt. He's not a billionaire. He's doing everything from the ground up and everything. He's getting the living snot beat out of him to learn how to be a superhero. And I was like, well, pretty much we're getting close to Dicko Spider-Man now. And Batman, not too original, not too, what I would say, innovative to be like his own absolute book. But then again, I never liked what they did with Absolute Power in that storyline. Oh, look, it's a dark, brooding Superman. He only became a dark, brooding Superman only because of the simple fact that it's like, hey, everybody, it's like, because of the threats that coming down here, I'm here to help you save the world. We don't need you, Superman. We got this, that, or the other. That threat ain't nothing to us. Oh, really? Okay. I'm still going to help you anyway. Fine. We consider you an enemy of the state. I knew I should have gone and sit over here in the corner and just let the earth burn. Absolute Superman. I'm paraphrasing a lot here, and I know I'm making jokes in the middle of it, so don't take it as gospel of what I'm saying is 100% legit, but that's the vibe that you get off of Absolute Superman. It's like, people know that he's an alien. People know, people are learning that, he is trying to do good, but we're still in the era of DC where they still don't, and at least in absolute terms, they still don't truly trust superpowered beings. And it fits for Absolute Superman. Are the stories being told in a way where people will love it? Like I said, it's kind of like a meh to me. Some things are great. Other things are like, I could take it or leave it. It's not like how bad Absolute Batman is. And at least Absolute Wonder Woman is the opposite take of how she was in the original incarnation of her. They went back to Gollum version of her, but instead of Hippolyta raising her, it was Cersei. And Cersei raised her as the last true Amazon. So not only is she was, that Cersei trained her to be a warrior, Cersei also trained her in the ways of magic. So now she is double classed in this version. And her only job is not to come and try to, help the world of man. She's just up here. It's like, look, nobody can stop what is coming but me. No matter who tries to deal with this situation, nobody else can deal with this but me, because I'm been trained to handle it. So she understands that there's something bigger and badder coming. And despite how the rest of the world said, we don't need you, she's up here like, screw it. You guys can't do this without me. And I'm going to do whatever it takes, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. If you make me an outlaw, make me the outlaw. I'm dealing with this problem. Screw you. And if you get in my way, you will get hurt. Absolute Wonder Woman in a nutshell. We never seen that before at all. Yep. Tired of all of the Church of Batman Dubro jerks. Again, Dubro Batman's jerks, as you call them, don't like me because, oh, Bruce this, Bruce that. It's like, Bruce don't hold a candle to what his father does in Flashpoint. Flashpoint Batman #1. All other incarnations of Batman. Thomas Wayne #1. Yeah, I'm trying not to get on that soapbox just as of yet, but I'm going to have to, because we're going to have to address, actually, we're going to have to address 3 books when I get on that soapbox. I really don't want to talk about those 3 books, but I'm going to have to. And because we have to talk about those 3 books, it's going to be kind of messy, and we're just going to deal with it the way we're going to deal with it. Insert stereotype here, see typical reaction there. More like insert stereotype according to marketing. Insert stereotype here, get reactive sales and free publicity there. I swear, Pete, we haven't grown as an audience since the early 2000s. We haven't. We fall for the same marketing traps over and over and over again. But again, that's going to get into my soapbox here for Jonathan Kent. Aaron, you read the Iceman Soul story from 2017. Oh no, don't start, please. Please don't start, Leia, please. Those days, we don't need those things here. No, I haven't. Did you like it? Or I heard that it was generic and didn't read it. Let's just say that they did something to Bobby Drake that just didn't make sense, and then the reaction from Jean Grey just made it even worse. But I let Parallax tell you more about it, because I don't need to be on multiple soapboxes today. I really don't. I really don't. It's like, it was 11 issue. It was terrible. It was like 1984 flaming hag stereotype of a gay man. Oh, well, she told you. She told you, but it is. Yeah, I heard that it was. Yep. Absolute Wonder Woman is not a bad comparison to. It's not bad. It's not too bad compared to the Tom King run. It's a hell of a lot better than the Tom King run. A hell of a lot better. At least this has continuity from the original source material. Tom King's run is like he stripped away a lot of different things just to get what he wants to write. Interesting feedback on Absolute Batman. I mean, it is. I mean, it's just the way that it is, you know. When Joker took Batman's money and Lucas Fox did not give it back to Batman, everyone was like, "Ooh, that doesn't work. He needs to get his gadget prep time." No, that's the one thing about Batman that I kind of wish their readers were at least a little bit more intelligent. Why would Lucius Fox willingly give Bruce his technology, especially in the absolute version of him? Like I said, Spider-Bat does whatever a Spider-Bat does, because again, he's going to have to learn all his everything. He's going to have to learn how to fight. He's going to have to learn from the ground up. He doesn't have the resources to say, hey, I'm about to say Ted Cord. Ted Cord is Blue Beetle. I forgot what Ted's last name for Wildcat. He can't just say, "Hey Ted, teach me how to box. Here's big bag of money. Teach me how to box." No, he has to go out there and get pummeled on and beat up and learn better ways to do it. So it's just Bruce being being Peter Parker in a weird way. The save shit in Absolute. Oh my God, Scott Snyder is a genius. Nah, he's not. I thought it was Tinian on PS, but then I started losing interest again. Yep. I dropped The Amazing Spider-Man and Batman months and months ago. I never was a big ASM fan. I will pick up an occasional, Ditko Spider-Man book every now and then. Modern Spider-Man, I guess I stopped liking Modern Spider-Man around Carnage and the Clone Saga and all the other stuff. That stuff just made me go like, I'm done. And then one more day, I'm not anti-Spider-Man. I'm not anti-Peter Parker. I love Miles. I love what they did with Miles, and that's when I picked back up Spider-Man. When Ultimates shifted from Peter to Miles is when I started getting back into Spider-Man. So I got spoiled on, Ultimate Spider-Man and then the Miles series and then Superior Spider-Man when Doc Ock was in Peter's mind. Doc Ock's mind was in Peter's body, I should say. Those stories were interesting to get me back into Spider-Man, but there is I would say maybe like a 2 to 3 decade gap that I just didn't care about Peter at all. Yeah, he wanted to get back, and then DC did not let him because the next writer wanted to play with Broke Bruce. Yeah. I mean, Broke Bruce, it's a good concept, but it's not something that I would do. It destroys the continuity of Batman. It really does. It messes too much with the continuity of Batman. And to be quite honest, it's not even a Batman story anymore. I haven't really been happy with ASM in decades. ASM's next story is for the year's next big event. Oh, goodness. Why? 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 I think the best Gwen Stacy story was Gwenpool, where she was constantly running from whatever time variance that was after her because she technically not supposed to exist. That was a good story for Gwen Stacy, but why bring her back into canon? That I don't know. It's just like people just wanted to do what they want to do. Hashtag Thomas Wayne forever. Yes. And Amazing Spider-Man continuity, Gwen Stacy has been dead for a well, actually, ASM, which includes Spectacular, which is no longer, I think, is being done here, but for ASM and Ultimates, she's been dead for quite some time. However, there are other Spider books where she's not, and there's other universe that says that no, she survived, and then there's other universe where it's like she lives and Peter's dead. But that's a whole thing here. Well, not 472 times. They had other books and other universes, or if as the watcher would say, other possibilities where Gwen Stacy is still around. Yep, I agree. It is played out here. Now I have that headache. Yep. Oh, I have started. I love the original Hobgoblin saga. Oh, you talk about original Hobgoblin being Ned. Yeah, I did like that with the original Hobgoblin and the whole thing with Ned. Yep, partly. Okay, I just dropped by to say hi. I'm going to take care of a few things before I have got a full day tomorrow. Okay, not a problem, Lane. Everybody's saying good night to Elaine here. Oh yeah, if only DC had a character that, a black man that creates tech and becomes a hero. She gonna go right to Steel. Wrong answer. Wrong answer. Even though Steel is a good, John Henry Irons is a good idea. The one that I would probably boost right about now, and they have tried it several times, and they just don't know how to do it right, is Mr. Terrific. That would be the person who I would do as the create tech and becomes a hero. Because technically, John Henry Irons is nothing more than War Machine. That's DC equivalents to War Machine, if you really take it in that aspect here. ASM, I literally stopped around issue 15 of the run that just ended, and now they're going to do it. Yeah, because again, these creative teams don't know how to leave a story open or leave plot holes or leave segues open for the next team to take off with. Everything has to be a standalone saga. Once it ends, oh, guess what? We got a brand new entry point. We can start a brand new number one and hope that new people can get in there because marketing says so. It is what it is. Superior Spider-Man was the bee's knees. Yep. Volume 1 of Superior Spider-Man was the bee's knees. Volume 2, not so much. One More Day sucks. Yep. We all agree with that here. So does Sins Pass. I don't remember Sins Pass. I do remember One More Day. That to me just did not make anything. Very first story arc for JMS I liked, but most of the rest were boring. He wrote the Civil War arc decently though. First Civil War, I gotta be honest. I do agree with that sentiment on the most part about decently, but Civil War has its problems too. It did have its problems and did not get corrected in Civil War 2. Dude, shit the not. I actually like Gwenpool. And yeah, Gwenpool made sense. It's like she is a character that knew that she does not exist. She did not exist. It's like she was out of continuity to everything else that was going, around her. She knew that, she had a life. She had everything that was going on, but she knew that she was a variant without a universe, and she was constantly on the run. And even when she finally met Deadpool left her alone because of that fact and tried to help her. It's like, yeah, I got the time variance on me. I got all these different people on me, and I just, going, jumping from universe to universe to universe to escape them. I mean, it was what it was. I can see it being a guilty pleasure for you. Yeah, it was a fun series here. That's going to be a boxing match. That's going to be a boxing match for later. Because only reason I say that's a boxing match for later is because Norman Osborn was better than Ned. Or I should say, Norman is greater than Ned. However, Ned was greater than Harry. I will give you that. Ned was better than Harry. But you're going to have to fight me over Norman. There was no one like Norman when it comes to Green Goblin. I'm sorry. No one like Norman. We'll fight over that one. But I would give you over Harry, hell yeah, Ned was better. No, not Ned Leeds, just the original storyline. Oh, really? Well, why do I always believe that Ned constantly misled him to believe that he never knew that he never let Peter in on who he was until the very last end. Because Ned to me was not technically the second Hob. Because I know there was multiple hobgoblins. Don't get me wrong. I know there was multiple hobgoblins, but it still lead me to believe that Ned was the first one. I like Steel. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that Jeremy was not a cool character. No, but in a sense, when you look at the bigger picture, he still comes off as DC answer to War Machine. Bingo. I will agree to that. That's something I will agree to. Mr. Terrific and Steel should team up. Yeah. Mr. Terrific, so much potential. Now listening to you guys in the Marvel Ewing writing of the Blue Marvel. That's another series that Marvel dropped that has so much potential. It has so much potential to bring back characters of yesteryear to this younger audience. Because what they were doing with the Blue Marvel was really bringing back a lot of this older stuff that happened during the Timely days. And I kind of wish that they would have kept doing that, but they didn't. Sins Past showed us that Gwen went overseas those few months. Norman went overseas. slept with her, impregnated. Why does that sound like the 200 issue of another book which we will not name? And the only thing that was missing is like Gwen Stacy saying, "It's all my fault. I can't kill Norman for it." That's the only thing that was missing in that story. But I digress. Yeah, I like Al Ewing before Ultimate Hulk, Immortal Hulk. I I never really read all of Immortal Hulk, but then again, I'm not a horror fan. But I like the concept of what they did with Immortal Hulk. He wasn't that popular, but it worked. But it was working hard. Yep. Yeah, Civil War has problems, of course, but I was addressing the whole JMS as far as the ASM segment. I'm going to come out that I've been Spider-Man ever since I was 16, and now my good friend Tony Stark gives me the Iron Spider suit, and dealing with being on Team Tony and having the press on you for being Iron Spider now. That was something here. Yeah. Yeah. So you see, she wants to start this fight. She wants to start the fight about Norman is greater than Ned. That's like I said, we'll fight a different day over that, because I still got to get on my soapbox about the other thing. I haven't forgot about Jonathan Kent, and you guys are not letting me talk about Jonathan Kent here. Hob was interesting because of the mysterious of the Hobgoblin, which is a mystery that was the whole thing. That was the whole thing, because my understanding of Hob was that their first Hobgoblin made it so, which made me think that Ned planned this all together, that he made Peter believe that he was the second one, just to keep everything kosher. Because he's like, he was really, he got kind of too close to Peter during that run with the Hobgoblin, with the first one. He got very close. He's like, he knew too much to not be. So to keep Peter off his tracks, he just kept saying and kept framing other people, making other people seem like it could be them. But like I said, it's just the way that the story was framed that makes me believe that it could have run that way. But for right now, by Marvel continuity, Ned was the second one, the second Hob. I still believe that he was the first. That he was just that clever enough to hold his identity until then. But the mystery is still there to say Ned could not be the first Hobgoblin, because what happened this, and this. And I was like, maybe he played the shell game good enough to make people think that it was somebody else. Yeah, I hate that they killed Ned in Spidey versus Wolverine. Yeah. Roger Stern's intent was to slowly reveal who the Hobgoblin was. Yeah, through many years to stay, but Roger Stern's left and it got married. I believe he probably did have somebody else in mind to be Hob. I will agree to that, because like I said, it was written in such a way to keep people off their tracks of who he was. Yep, it's like how they made Norman into Green Goblin, even though Ditko didn't want that. Yep. Mm-hmm. Exactly. Did not like since past. Yep. It was almost the exact same story. That's what I'm getting at. Yeah, kids come back, the kids come back and then they go after Peter Spidey, his fingers his fingers out there and this, that, and the other flies out and then the legacy. It's like the Goblin suit is gray. Yeah, she does. Yeah, I know J. Michael just did not write One More Day. I know that, but he did mandate the ID reveal. Yeah. Yeah, he was totally the first and the best. Now, getting back to what we was talking about how stereotypes should not be used and marketed. And we're going to go back to the whole thing about Jonathan Kent. We're going to go back to Jonathan Kent because what they did was so messed up, but it worked. But it worked in the aspect of Jonathan Kent in a alternate future, not present continuity. Let me go back and get on the soapbox, and we're going to take Elaine's Wayback Machine a couple years. Like I said, we're going to talk about 3 particular books here. We're going to talk about Super Sons. Super Sons was a great series that brought out the relationship between Jonathan and Damian as kids. And people was eating it up left and right. They loved what was going on and everything. And it was going to be like the next big thing, because now they have a series that they could use to raise them up as they grow up, in age. So while that was going on, DC in their ultimate wisdom did the one thing that they did the akins to Gen 5, which was Future State. In Future State, and this is book number 2, in Future State, this is where Jonathan Kent gets, opens up about his sexuality. Now, this is him in a alternate future. He opens up about his sexuality. Everybody goes up in arms because, again, he holds the mantle of Superman. Everybody's saying, well, Clark wouldn't like this and this, that, and the other. And they're just doing all this other stuff, yada, 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 yada. It's all agenda, everything to that magnitude. It's like, I don't co-sign on it, but I will say this. For a possible future for Jonathan Kent, it worked. It got people interested in the character. But what happened? Future State did not sustain. It was a glimpse into the future. A lot of the stuff that happened in Future State did not stay as continuity. Only a handful of characters remained from Future State. One of the most notable character of Future State that remained was Yara Flor. She outsold just about everything in Future State. But there was enough fanfare for Jonathan Kent coming out that they actually thought about keeping Jonathan that way. Fast forward to now, and the series that they're about to get ready to come out now. They're not going to say that it is an alternate universe version of him. They're just going to call him Gay Superman. And I'm like, why are they doing this? Why is Secret Six doing this? Do you know you're going to infuriate a lot of people with this? because this is not a book set in an alternate timeline. This is going to be a book set in present day. And then you're going to also change the name of the character to Super Son. Not Superman, not gay Superman, Super Son. It's no longer future. It's about to be current present day. Now, if it's current present day, doesn't that ruin continuity? Because if it's going to be current present day with this one, then you have another Jonathan Kent that is running around with Damian and Elizabeth, aka Trinity, at the same time, which doesn't make any sense. So that goes back to show you about the need for editors. You just can't do a marketing campaign like that and just say, here, Mr. Writer, go ahead and knock yourself out. Knowing good and well you got other books that contradict it. And you're stating that it's not a parallel future or a parallel universe or anything to that magnitude. What are you doing? This is if I could say it in these terms, the ultimate in pandering that a company is doing. Granted, there is fanfare for this character, but you have to set it up in the proper aspect. They're refusing to do so. I get why people are up in arms about this. I'm not going to be up in arms because of any type of sexual agenda. I'm going to come from the business aspect of it. It's poorly marketed. It destroys continuity for your other books. It destroys character legacy, because now you got two different characters of almost the same ilk running around at the same time, and there's no true separation of it. So what is going on over there at, Discovery DC? What are you really doing? Who is literally looking at the bigger picture? I'm not going to be the one to say, no, you shouldn't have this type of a Superman. Do whatever you want, but have the common sense to keep continuity together. Don't, as they say, it's like, don't cut off your nose to spite your face here in that aspect when it comes to creating newer titles. Yes, you got writers that got some ideas and everything. Have them to develop it within the continuity of what's going on in the DC universe as it is right now. Don't come up with these stories to be like, oh, you could push that over to the side. It doesn't matter anymore because this is the one that we need to focus on. Stop doing that. This stuff was not happen if you have true editors sitting there, standing up and saying, no, you can't do this. This is how we have to rewrite this to make it work. This is what we need to make everything contiguous and understandable for all audiences, not just for the niche that you're trying to write for all audience to understand. We need somebody to stand up like that as an editor. But yet, no one, and I truly mean no one, up until this point who has been doing videos speaking out against this type of stuff has taken that step back and not focused in on the character itself and look at it from the standpoint of a publishing business. You're creating a niche book for a niche crowd. while alienating everybody else. So that means that you're setting up a marketing campaign that only speaks to a small sliver of your overall buying audience. And you're not making it palatable for everyone. That's a problem. That is a major problem. And on top of that, you're not making the story organic. You're hitting people upside the head with things that's going to happen within that title. It's almost as if you're creating a book to speak down to your reading audience at that point, which is a no-no. But I get you. I hear those people who are speaking out. I understand your anger. And I understand your points that you're making. This is the reason why I'm getting on the soapbox today. Because normally I would be, like I told Parallax, normally I click off your video in most cases. Because why? They need to hire better writers. It's not the writers. Well, they need to stop writing this, that, and the other. It's not what they're writing. It's the fact that these companies are allowing the marketeers dictate continuity without knowing or caring about the source material or the continuity of the source material. Let the writers write what they want. We as comic book readers, 9 times out of 10, is trusting that editor that's sitting right there managing that creative team to put out the best work possible. And when that is not happening, the greater majority is going to come back, oh, the writer sucks. It's like, writer probably not sucks. It's just probably not the right project for them to work on. Or there's something else that should have been done in that project to kind of make it better. Or it was not completely developed the way that it needs to be. But the problem here is the bigger publishers are not holding those editors accountable for inferior product. Period. Granted, I know how Parallax is going to be up here. It's like, these companies have no editors anymore. And I still scream BS, because there got to be somebody there that's looking at everything. And even if the editors are part of the marketing team, they need to have, for lack of a better term, cojones to stand up to those that's in marketing and say, no, let's go for it. Let's do the stereotypical thing to get that audience, because that audience has been clamoring to say, we need more heroes like us, and representation. It's like, you have to go like, time out. There's representation there. Maybe we need to go back in our archive and write stories for them, instead of trying to create something brand new, or appearing like it's brand new, or appearing to be pandering. Maybe that needs to be done. But as I always say, what the hell do I know? I'm nothing more than a small press publisher at that point. So hopefully everything that I say makes sense. And like I said, I hear you guys. I hear those who are upset. We're upset about different things, but we have the same goal in mind. We want better product in the long run. So we got, Ned equals Hoppers. Yep. I am done with business at that point. I really tried out his Superman and tried. Dang it, I tried. Okay, I can understand that. Exactly, Joe. Contradiction sucks. Business is a hack. Yeah, Joe, you're right about the lack of real marketing that connects concepts together. Stories are, after all, connecting interesting concepts together as they explore the human condition. Exactly, which comes back to the overall title about the harsh truths about writing. And I was telling Parallax earlier, it's like one of the things that I always put myself and other writers through when they come to me and say, "Hey, would you publish my stuff?" I will read their stuff and go like, this doesn't meet my downtown test. And everybody was like, "Well, what's your downtown test?" My downtown test is one of those things that if as a writer, if you don't have the ability to do this, that tells me that your project is not really ready to be developed. What the downtown test is more along the lines here. When you write a story, do you think about downtown to wherever town that you live in, or whatever state that you live in, or whatever city that you live in? Do you think about your downtown area? Why your downtown area? Because 9 times out of 10, you have a cross sections of individuals of every nationality, creed, and religion working together in some form or some fashion. This resolves a lot of things where it comes to representation and characterization and world building if you use those types of settings. The problem with most writers is that we are often told to write what we know. So if the only thing that you know is neighborhood, then there's a problem. If the only thing that you know is suburbia, there's a problem. You have to expand your horizons and look at the world as a whole. I'm not saying, you know, if you're going to write something about, about a hero that's going to save like the one town, at least build your town up the way that you see your downtown area. Everything is not, if I could say, homogenous in that aspect here. You're going to have different religions, you're going to have different nationalities. It's going to be a universal type thing. And that's the problem with a lot of, if I could say, more mainstream comics. And because mainstream comics has been that way for so long, we get to the more lesser known titles and this stuff is being shown, it's a harder pill to digest initially until you get into that storyline. And this is kind of the way that I actually write. I don't see nationality up front when I develop characters. I build that in as I build the world around them. I don't see a comic book being primarily one nationality anymore because you're building worlds. And when you're building worlds, you have to build, sometimes maybe you have to build a household, maybe you have to build a city, maybe you have to build a state, a country, the whole entire world, maybe a whole universe, a galaxy. When you start building on that level, you cannot just sit there and be like, well, everybody is just like this. It doesn't work. It will never work like that. It just gets to the point where it is what it is. And let's see what we got here. The downtown test. I like it. All types of humans, yet suffering from the human condition. Exactly. When you think about a bustling downtown, you think about business, commerce, entertainment, everything. And it is suited for everybody that is a citizen of that town. Not to a particular neighborhood, not to a particular subsection. It's for everyone. I mean, think about it. I mean, one of the things that some of the editors at DC that said about Gotham and about Batman titles, it was too homogenous. And when they started adding different nationalities in Batman, there was, people took a back to it. And it shouldn't have. It shouldn't have. It should have been more refreshing because it was not thrusted upon you. If you even take Gotham City being equivalent to like a New York, it makes sense. If you took it to a London, it makes sense. I just don't get why some writers, I would say somewhere between beginner and intermediate writers, don't understand the problem when that is brought to them in this way. It means that the world building that you did is flawed. You can't truly speak 100% about the human condition because not everything that is human is represented as of yet. And that's where the downtown test lies at. It's understanding that there is something greater than what you know and what you see on the regular within your own bubble. Being in your downtown or being in your downtown area requires you to be outside of yourself or outside of your own view to work with everybody else in that area. You don't have to be friendly and high and by to everybody, but you know, if you're going to go to work and this, that, and the other, you know how to get on a bus, how to interact with people who may say hi, who may bump into you and be rude and all this other stuff, because all of that is based upon the human condition. Your anger level would 9 times out of 10 be based upon who did what, whether it be a person who is smelly and stinky, whether it be somebody that may be dressed in a different traditional type of garb. All this stuff goes into the human condition. It is never homogeneous. And that's why I feel a lot of the stuff that's being talked about now, saying that writing is the fault in modern comics. It's like, no, writing is not the fault. It is the editing. And the reason why I say it's the editing, because a good editor would allow your story to allow the reader to form its own opinion. You do not have to hit the reader upside the head every 2 panels to say, hey, I'm homosexual, or hey, or hey, I'm black, or hey, I am, Hindu. You don't have to do that. Let the human condition allow the reader to make their own inferences. Period. The end. That's why a lot of writers fail what I call my downtown test, because of that reason. But let me get more into this. Like diversity in individuals within a melting pot. Exactly. Nature versus nurture, exploring cultures, but not focus on individuals where real diversity lies. And again, it's not about individuality per se. It's just about accepting that there is difference out there. You don't have to be of a different nationality to be diverse. And that's where the problem lies at. Because when you truly think about those who stick within, like, oh, this is what it's like in my neighborhood. Your neighborhood is a homogenous unit in most cases here. They're going to be generally people like yourself who think like you and shares a lot of the same viewpoints. It's not going to be that random guy that you meet downtown that lives in a completely different part of the city, may have a different point of view, may have a different income aspect than you, may have a completely different life than you. That's what makes diversity powerful. And telling the story of how you interact with that person makes the story powerful. But focusing in on this person is this way, and I have to tell you about it 5 different times within 2 pages, that's not diverse. That's not human interaction. That's just you being overly descriptive to hit us upside the head to say, hey, I got representation. Yep, you're right. is never homogenous. It's about the hero's journey, right? One starts off in their own neighborhood and ends up traveling outside of it. Exactly. And people need to realize we as writers, we do that every day when we create our brand new worlds or our brand new pieces of the story. We're not staying in that same neighborhood over and over and over again. We're changing things up. It's getting explored. We don't have to hit people upside the head about, oh, my such and such character is doing such thing to prove that they're such and such. It's like, no, let them have their normal life. They don't have to specify this, that, and the other, and yada 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 yada, and hit you upside the head, saying it's like, hey, look at me, I'm a representation of this. No, let them go and be a hero. Let them. It's like if you're going to have parts where it's slice of life. Let the slice of life be natural and organic. And that's one of the reasons why I got on the soapbox about Jonathan Kent. Because in Future State, the way that they did what they did with him was organic enough where people fell in love with it. People didn't like the fact that they did it, but it was at least organic enough where people who wanted that type of representation liked what they did. They didn't hit you upside the head. Media hit you upside the head with it, but the actual story itself did not. And that's a major difference here. And that's why I keep saying that we fall for the same marketing ploys over and over and over again. One of the other things that was brought up over this week, and I'm still going to look for a copy of it. I'm still going to try to find, and let me adjust the cameras here. Sorry about that. I actually hit my desk here. The one thing that I'm still going to find and eventually buy when I actually have the money to do so is that I'm still going to go out there. I'm going to find myself a Milo Manara Spider-Woman #1, despite the controversy about that. And people up here is like, well, why? Well, it's like, why? It's like you took a stance on this, on one aspect, and now you're going to be kind of hypocritical since we're up here talking about a book that was kind of panned because of its sexualization. When it comes to that particular cover for Spider-Woman #1, and I want you guys to know the true history about it. The outrage for that cover was not 100% true outrage. It was more so the fact that it was a Milo Manara cover. The pose itself was not the true issue, because if it really was the true issue, and this goes to show you double standards, if the pose was the issue, then why wasn't there an outcry when Peter did it several issues before? Same pose. Jessica Drew does it. Her rear end happens to be up in the air. Oh, you're objectifying women and you're sexualizing women. Peter does it. Crickets. Where's the outcry? Add the fact that it's Milo Manara, and why I keep mentioning the name Milo Manara, because Milo Manara was one of the few artists that has been known for X-rated comics. He has been an X-rated comic book artist for quite some time. He was known for the more sexualized and pornographic images that you see in the adult comic side of things here. You add those two factors, now you got mothers and grandmas and everything upset at the fact that they did this cover. it was one of several covers of the early 2000s, or I should say the early 2010s, to be more accurate, that came under scrutiny in this aspect. Another one was the Frank Cho Wonder Woman. I believe it was Wonder Woman either 3 or 4, and the panties issue. And if you don't, I don't think I have the book on me here. Do I? I might have it here, but I don't think it is. But in that aspect, talking about that cover, this was a cover that, again, going back to the editors, an editor at DC approved it. The writer of Wonder Woman at that time saw it, looked at it, and pitched a hissy fit about it. So much that they came back to ask Frank Cho to change it. Frank Cho was like, why would I need to change it? It was already approved. There shouldn't be any problems because it was approved. Now, by this time, said writer already went to social media, and it was a social media outcry about, oh, you can see Wonder Woman's panties. And the thing about it, it was just only a tad bit of snippet of the panties because of the way that she was bending at the time in her armor, where you saw a piece of the undergarment in frame. What they ended up doing, they ended up cropping that part of the image out for that cover. Fixed. However, because of the simple fact that they asked Frank to go back and change it, Frank decided not to do another Wonder Woman cover and wanted off that project. And he was removed from the project. Everybody kept saying, oh, Frank Cho is bad. Frank Cho, he's sexualizing women and this, that, and the other. It's like, no, that's not what you were supposed to get from what actually happened here. What actually happened that was wrong is that you had a weak ass editor who kowtowed to his writer, not understanding that he caused more turmoil in that creative team. If anything, it would have been a point to remove said writer. And if I was DC, that editor would have lost his job right then and there. That's the harshness of being an editor and how much responsibility an editor holds here. The editor made a bad decision. It caused division amongst a creative team, who ended up paying the dues and having to deal with punishment. The artist, or the cover artist in this case. It's sad, but nobody once said, outside of those who are in the know, said that Frank Cho. Nobody said that Frank Cho was wrong. They just said, oh, he's this, and this. It's like, no, you need to hold that editor accountable. He needs to be fired first and foremost here, because how are you going to go ahead and approve an image, and then as your writer comes back and tells you about, oh, if you don't do this and if you don't do that, and making all these threats, it's like, you know what? I would have been like, we don't need you as a writer. Because if it was that gosh awful, it wouldn't be a simple crop it out type scenario. It's because said person went to social media and played on the outcry of everybody talking about sexualization and comic book covers and playing that up. We wouldn't have had that problem. but it is what it is. Let's see. Yep, that's right. Writers should do that. Right. It's if it was simple, it was a simple slice of life, then keep it real and constantly, interrupting the story with, yeah, you don't have to do that. Just tell a good story. Let the reader determine all that. Krakoa X-Men at was the peak of woke BS. Hippie commune X-Men, where Charles became the exact opposite of everything that involved. Yeah, yeah. hmm I agree. Yep. That's about the other great points made. But again, before anybody jumps down my throat about sexualization and everything, that's the real reason why I want the Milo Manera Spider-Woman 1. I already got the Frank Cho Wonder Woman. And the reason being is that those are shining examples of where the media jumped the gun. Is Are women being sexualized in covers? Yes. I'm not going to sit here and lie. Yes. There are too many TNA covers, especially in the, I'm not going to say in that, I would say in the non, if I could say it, mainstream universe. There's a lot of them. A lot of them. But also at the same time, there are other ones that are not really geared towards that. I mean, I was about to get ready to pull out like a Deja Doris, a cover from Dynamite or most Xenoscope books. There is sexualization there. It helps sells those books. Like I say, I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to lie about that. There's people that buy based upon that. And it's sad that a lot of women-led books are just that way to get people in the seats to read them. It's sad. People didn't read Red Sonja because she was in a bikini armor. They saw a badass woman carrying a sword beating up on men. It's like, that's interesting. But slowly but surely, it crossed over to that TNA range and it became more suggestive. You had jokes within She-Hulk that is on She-Hulk covers that brought that out. And we have the infamous Sensational She-Hulk number 40, which again became one of the most overpriced issues of She-Hulk ever. Reason being is that book outvalues Savage She-Hulk number 1, which is the very first number 1 that she ever had. All because people missed the part about them talking about sexualization of female characters in the jump rope scene, which is supposed to have been a joke. But everybody buys it because on the cover it's talking about, hey, we're about to see She-Hulk naked. We don't see the same effect happening in the John Byrne, I believe it was Fantastic Four 275. Parallax is going to correct me if I'm wrong on that issue number. But yeah, the whole thing about She-Hulk being in the equivalent of what Playboy would have been in the Marvel universe. We don't have that type of a leap in Fantastic Four issues where that book is overly valued. But because they hinted at her jump roping naked, all of a sudden that book skyrockets to maybe like a $500 or $600 book, where Sensational She-Hulk 1 now is maybe like a $250 book. And we're talking about graded like 9.8 or something to that magnitude. Even more so. If it's 9.8, I believe that the 9.8, if it hasn't dropped all that much, Savage She-Hulk 1 is somewhere close to like $1,000, and then Sensational She-Hulk 40 out of 9.8 is about like 1,500. But it shouldn't make that big of a. It shouldn't have that one issue of She-Hulk 40, even with it being a smaller print run and everything, it was not a key issue, only because of that cover doing what it did. It just skyrocketed for no reason. So I'm saying all this is that, yes, sexualization is a problem, but we need to put it in its proper perspective. Not every cover has that problem with TNA aspect of it. But the ones that do, it seems like nobody really truly talks about that in the same regards. On that note, we're already, I know my East Coast people are hating me because we're already in their Sunday, and I don't want to always run over into that aspect. But yeah, 2 hours went by like that. And that what happens when you get me on that soapbox. When you get me on that soapbox, I will tell you the truth, and I will give you that truth, and I'll try to make it as fast as possible. But in this case, we're like a minute over our 2 hour mark here. But let me go ahead and get to the rest of the comments here. We got, yeah, but at the same time, X-Men books have had some have been terrible and don't want the male gaze, and are making all the X-women gay, and the variant covers are half naked Cyclops, Magic, and Emma Frost cuts. Yep. I agree. I kind of sort of agree with that. I mean, they still pushing Rogue heavily now, more so than anything. But again, the X-Men is not the X-Men that I grew up with, even now. But I'm slowly but surely getting back into. I still got a handful of issues in volume 3, 4, and 5 that I need to get to have my X-Men run, my Uncanny X-Men run, complete again. But yeah, no, I get that. It's the only way to get sales on stupid books. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Hickman wrote a great Elseworlds X-Men, but once he left, it sucked, in my opinion. Yeah, stop giving him credit for Krakoa bullshit. Yep. In the corner. Why are you putting? She's putting Aaron in the corner here. LOL. Man versus machine thing rocks. Yeah. No, it didn't. Okay. Only man versus machine, but man versus mutation versus machine versus man versus machine. I wish Hickman could have finished what he started. I don't know. The only reason I say I don't know, because I look at history. We had the evil one who didn't completely finish his X-Men run. And those who know who I mean by the evil one, you know. But Hickman, to me, did not impress me as a good X-Men writer. He was, if I could say it this way, he would be what I consider the next generation for X-Men. If X-Men actually achieved either Xavier's dream or Magneto's dream. Because those dreams have not been resolved, a lot of the stuff that Hickman did, to me, comes out as meh. I don't hate it, but it's meh. Just like how I have appreciation what Morrison did with X-Men. When it originally came out, I hated it, but now I have more respect for what Grant Morrison did for X-Men. The only reason, and like I said, I have told you this many times before, Aaron, the reason why I hated it in the very beginning is because I knew that nobody else could come behind him to keep those storylines going. Because what he did was so far top notch, that whoever they brought in after him was going to struggle. And we've been on the struggle bus for X-Men ever since. That's just me. She says she's scheduled an MRI for a while. Yeah, there's more than one. One wants to suppress others' voyeurism. The stronger the voyeurism will come back even stronger. Yep. Yeah, we don't care. We don't care. It's Sunday. Yes, you do. Good show. Yep. Beanie and Lils are still listening. Yep, because it's over. It's like I don't want to be on a soapbox anymore. My whole thing about From Desk to Small Press Publishing is not me being on a soapbox saying everybody else's comics is bad, buy my books. No, it's about general, old school, talking about comics, talking about some of the finer aspects of comic book shop talk, and talking about what we love. Today was one of those days where we had to do the soapbox because I hear the anger in a lot of people. But let's keep it in perspective. Let's keep it in perspective. We don't have to do the name calling. We don't have to do half of the stuff. It's like, yeah, we're angry. But let's call out, these companies for having a lack of true editors and make it known to them. It's like, hey, we're using our discretionary money here. We don't have to buy these books. We love what we love. Now we're talking about books that haven't came out, at least with the new Secret Six. That's a book that is scheduled to come out within the next couple of months. It's not even out as of yet. They can still make tweaks and stuff to it. Only reason I say that because that gives us a positive hope that if they are listening to us as of right now, there's time to fix it. But if they're not, then they go ahead and move forward. At least those who are paying attention would have heard us out. In this case, on this show, they would have heard us out without all the extra added anger and understand where the problem lies at. And that's the key thing, making sure that your message is understood beyond the anger. And yeah, and they're eating chocolate. Oh, say they're going to be wired. You're up here. They're not going to go to bed to maybe like 2-3 in the morning. Even if that, they probably fall out probably about 6 in the morning. We probably have to wake them up to eat breakfast. Yeah, the new Uncanny has been pretty good, way better than the Hellfire Gallon bullshit on their hippie commune island. Was it better than X-Men Gold, and X-Men on Mars? I still got to finish that X-Men on Mars. But it is what it is. It is what it is here. Oh, we still got more. I thought we were done. Nope. Hickman was just around the hard way to the Sentinels, man. All the way recycled Claremont's run. The one thing that I wish that they would have stuck with, if you're going to bring up the Sentinels again, but then again, they're constantly changing X-Men, and they made X-Men, put X-Men in the same. They're trying to bring X-Men out of the same universe as the rest of the Marvel universe again, which doesn't make any sense to me. But when the X-Men universe and the rest of the Marvel universe was together, the one thing that I wish that they would have developed further was Sentinel Squad 1. If they would have developed Sentinel Squad 1 a lot better, it would have been a better doorway to deal with some of the aspects that the mutants brought into Civil War. Because again, the X-Men has already been through registration. People keep forgetting about Days of Futures Past. So when you have characters like Wolverine and New Avengers during the time of Civil War, he would have been like, Look, let me tell you a little something, something. I know it did not happen in this lifetime, but in an alternate timeline, this very topic came up, and this what ended up happening. None of that came out in Civil War. Not truly. It would have been awesome if that would have been brought up. And it would have been kind of like that warning about the whole thing about registering people with powers and all this other stuff, because it's not just affecting the X-Men, it's affecting the whole entire world at this point. And it could have been like, hey, are we going to have the day of reckoning that Days of Futures Past has shown us? Or are we going to avert this? But that's just me. Yep, Grant Morrison. Yep, evil. Yep, he was evil. Yeah, X-Men has struggled, struggle business for, I would say over 20 years. It was over 20 years. X-Men, to me, has been struggling since maybe 2012. So it's been over 20 years. No, take that back. Grant Morrison's run, what did that ended? 99, 2000, 99, maybe 99. So yeah, longer than 2 decades. Yeah, you need a strong soapbox for me. Yep. Yeah. Taste of very ultimately subjectiveness, but the story should be meaningful. Yep. Literally, the only book that canned was the new Warriors. The new Warriors, yeah. And again, I applaud them of how they used the New Warriors to start Civil War, because it made sense. It made sense. You had a team of superheroes who may not have the best interest of civilians in mind doing this job, and casualties will happen. And the reaction from a government would have been that part I loved. But some of the aspects, especially during the time of Secretary of State Tony Stark, which I hated, that's a whole nother soapbox for a different day. We're not going to go there. We're not going to go there. Yeah, X-Men Go, X-Men Red were better than Crack. Oh, really? Yeah, the X-Men would have been totally on Team Cap. The greater majority of X-Men would have been Team Cap. You're right about Wolverine, but they should have used that. Yep. None of that came out. None of it. They hinted about it, but that conversation was not had, especially in New Avengers. Because remember, that was during the time that Wolverine was part of the New Avengers team, and the New Avengers team had direct line of communication with Team Cap. Yeah, X-Men has struggled since 2004. Yep. Since around oh gosh. Woo! One of the few people that came after the evil one. Just saying. I'm just putting it out there. I'm not saying good or bad. I'm not saying good or bad, but he definitely came after the evil one. And you saw what he tried to do. She's still trying to give you the MRI. It's one thing I can say, it's a different type of X-Men. It's a different type of X-Men, just like Grant Morrison was a different type of X-Men. And since he came after Morrison, it's definitely one of those things that I can say this is comparing apples to oranges. Which one would I rather have more of? I'd rather have more of Morrison. But that's just me. Again, I'm not saying Whedon's X-Men was bad. It's just not the same. You know what's even worse? Nora Osborn was winning, the Secret Invasion, and made it into the same. Yeah. Yeah. I'm still kind of ticked off that they brought Norman Osborn back from the dead. And they did that. They brought him back from the dead and he did that. Yep. Yeah, all right. Oi, oi, oi. Y'all having too much fun. I didn't like how Marvel did explore the ramifications of Civil War. Lost interest in business around the time, although I like Siege and Dark Avengers. Siege was a difficult read for me because I didn't know how to feel about it. I like Dark Avengers. I like what he did with Dark Avengers. I didn't care too much with everything that he did in New Avengers. I didn't care too much what he did in New Avengers, but I really wish that they would have delved more into how the X-Men would have felt about registration in Civil War. They purposely kept that part out, even though those two universes was merged by then, because they went to the next event instantly. Yep. And then it's like, yeah, the issues other than with the big two. Yeah, they have 9 events running concurrently. That's another problem. That's another problem that mainstream books have. It's like, we're going to have this, earth-shaking universe event, and you have to read through most of the titles instead of just saying, here's a big story. We're going to do this big story that includes the whole entire DC universe. We're not going to interrupt the stories in your favorite DC titles. We're just going to keep it self-contained in this particular story title. They don't do that anymore. I wish they would go back to doing it, because it was fine. Because you think about it, the very first miniseries, Contest of Champions, was all self-contained. It did not leak into other books of Marvel. The original Secret Wars did not leak into other books of Marvel. Secret Wars 2 did, which I did not care for. But those two books, those two series, I loved it. It's just, I don't know why they don't do it. What you mean, Aaron? 3 people mad at Tony Stark at least a week. Yeah, I don't mind Norman coming back from the dead, just not like mid Lex Luthor clone. They clone, this, that, and the other. Then the Green Goblin should have been brought back and ripping it. I don't mind, to be quite honest. I did not mind Iron Patriot. I did not mind Dark Avengers with him leading Dark Avengers. Just like I did not mind Baron Zemo 2 leading the Thunderbolts. It made sense for him to lead the Thunderbolts. And for him to kind of sort of change his philosophy that was passed down for his father. Those are some of the things that makes those reads interesting. But the fact that they brought him back was my major problem. There's like, don't you have another character? I mean, it's like Kingpin isn't dead. You could have had Kingpin as the Iron Patriot in it and pretty much had the same thing. Tombstone, you could have had the same thing with Tombstone. You could have had the same thing with a lot of characters that have the same staying power as Norman. But it is what it is. It was work. It worked way better with Wilson Fisk because many people in the universe, normal people, liked him and could see he was a good dude. I like Norman. Yeah, exactly. Norman had to constantly play to the cameras to be like, look at me, I'm the good guy. I'm the good guy. Look at me. Knowing good and well, it's like, my Green Goblin sense of evil wants to take over. Yeah, Secret 2 is insane, but you loved it. Yep. I meant Norman Osborn first came back, it was men, and then he has been a terror for all of those. Him and Ultimates. Him and Ultimates as Green Goblin, I appreciate more. And then because the way that they had him as Green Goblin and Ultimates made me like J. Jonah Jameson. J. Jonah Jameson in older Spider-Man books is a guy that you love to hate. You get to Ultimates, especially the tail end of Ultimate Spider-Man. You begin to appreciate J. Jonah Jameson a lot more. He wasn't just that cynic. I kind of figure you probably dislike the Thunderbolts here. Well, you know why the movie's going to tank, because the Thunderbolts from the movie is not the Thunderbolts from the comics. It's going to be a new team, just like how they did Guardians of the Galaxy, because Guardians of the Galaxy was not the original Guardians of the Galaxy from the books. There's going to be some saving grace for the Thunderbolts movie, but I don't see them having lightning in a bottle twice. Guardians of the Galaxy was a one-off, and it was a big one-off. They tried to do the exact same thing with the Eternals, did not work. They're about to get ready to try this version of Thunderbolts. I don't see this working. That's my personal opinion. I don't see this working. And the reason I don't see this working is because you changed the whole dynamics of the team. It does not carry the same weight. Ultimate Green Goblin was way better. Yep. And J. Jonah Jameson is better even in. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like Ultimate Green Goblin. I was saying that Norman led the It was like when Norman led the Thunderbolts. And when did Norman lead the Thunderbolts? That's interesting because I don't remember Norman leading the Thunderbolts. I thought Zemo never truly well, I take that back. I thought Zemo let go of command of the Thunderbolts to Hawkeye at one time. When did Norman take over the Thunderbolts? Unless it was his Thunderbolts from Dark Avengers. Unless that was Dark Avengers Thunderbolts. Because that would mean that the whole thing with Moonstone was actually true. That Moonstone was like the only true surviving member of the original Thunderbolts at that point. But that was only during Dark Avengers. And I took Dark Avengers as a separate story that was not in continuity to what was going on in the original Thunderbolts title. Yeah, I always hated Thunderbolts. And then the city gave them Don't remind me of that. Don't remind me of that. Don't. Yeah. Yeah. Nobody takes over the Fantastic Four like that. I know that. Yeah, I enjoyed those Thunderbolts. I enjoyed Ghost. For an instant in the Thunderbolts, there was depth there. Yeah. MRI schedule for next Wednesday at 4:15. Yeah, Dark Reign. Yeah, Dark Reign. Yeah, or right after Secret Invasion. Yeah, there was so many back to 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 back special events that it's hard to keep track of who was doing what in what series. How did he wrestle control of the Thunderbolts from Hawkeye? That's the question that I have. I just, that's just the whole thing that it's like he wouldn't have just led. It's like my understanding is that Norman kind of sort of took over for Mach 1, and all of a sudden Iron Patriot just showed up, and next thing you know, here is the Thunderbolts with Iron Patriot with Hawkeye being missing. I wouldn't say that he was leader at that point until Dark Avengers. He didn't become leader until Dark Avengers, that, or at least in my point of view. But again, I could be wrong in my memory of how the story went from Hawkeye's disappearance. The fact that Mach 1 left and Norman became Iron Patriot. Because that's because that was the whole thing. It's like with Mach 1 being gone, there was no armored character, and Norman took it at when you're wrong, and you're wrong. Yeah. In the public eye, Norman ended as a threat, and then they get okay. Okay. No, like I said, Aaron, it's like I'm trying to remember the events in order. I'm trying to remember in order. It's like, yeah, that does track. That does track at the end of Secret Invasion. Yeah, that does track. Mm-hmm. Yep. But then again, like I said before, it's like the original Thunderbolts came a long way to that point. They came a long way, a very long way. I'm not saying that he didn't lead them, but I just don't remember when he took over, when he completely took over. Yeah, I don't like most of the events at the times, but I do not blame you for not remembering. Yeah, because again, he did have control over, because one of the main factors was Moonstone. Moonstone was there, and it surprised me when she became the next Miss Marvel. She was Miss Marvel for a bit, and I was like, wow, that's interesting. Not exactly the same power set, but it kind of worked. But anyway, people, we're almost 30 minutes over our normal time here. So let me go ahead and say goodbye. For those in the East Coast, I do apologize for running over another 30 minutes here, but enjoy the rest of your Sunday. For those who are in my neck of the woods, we're getting out of here. 30 minutes left before we are in Sunday. And my West Coast people, you got some time. Go out there, party up, and do whatever you can. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday. And we'll be out of here for another week. Live life, grow, and be well. And we are out. Oh, wait, hold on. Hold on. Yep. Good night, everyone. Good show, Joe. Good input. There it is. Here it is. And we are out. Later.